Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us today. Chodesh Tov. It's a great honor and privilege to be here with all of you as we conclude our series of Pirkei Avot study before Shavuot. We'd like thank you very much for hosting us today for this beautiful spread. We greatly appreciate it. And may your home always be open for smachot and happy occasions and festivities, mitzvot, Baruch Hashem, to focus on another Mishnah, Pirkei Avot, Pirkei, Pasuk, Mishnah Yutet. The Mishnah starts off the following. It says, Kol mi sheyesh bo shlosha devarim halalu, hu mitalmidav shel Avraham Avinu. Any person that possesses the following three qualities is a student of Avraham Avinu. Shlosha dvarim acherim, and if he possesses three different qualities, hu mitalmidav shel Bil'am harasha. He is a student of Bil'am, the wicked, the good eye. Veruach nemucha, a low spirit. Venefesh shfala, which means a very low soul, which means that he's, we're going to talk about how the first word means extremely humble and also not arrogant at all. Very content with what he has. Nefesh shfala, that he's not somebody who runs after mundane worldly pleasures. That person is mitalmidav shel Avraham Avinu. That person is a student of Avraham Avinu. Now, on the other hand, if he has ayin ra'ah, if he has an evil eye, veruach gvoah, he's looking for a lot of honor. He's very arrogant. The nefesh rechava is very lustful, desires a lot. That individual of Bil'am the wicked. We're going to analyze each part piece by piece. Says the Mishnah, Ma'av shel Bil'am harasha. What is the difference between the students of Avraham Avinu and the students of Bil'am the wicked? Explains the Mishnah. The answer is very simple. Talmidav shel Avraham Avinu, the students of Avraham, our father, ochlin ba'olam hazeh, they benefit in this world. Shene'emar lehanchil ohava yesh. Hashem wants to bequeath to those who love Him yesh, which means 310 worlds for every tzaddik in the world to come. Aval talmidav shel Bil'am harasha, but the students of Bil'am the wicked, they Yorshim Geinam, they go straight to Geinam. The Yordim Liber Shachat, they go to the lowest level of Geinam. Shene'emar ve'ata Elohim toridem live'er Shachat. You, Hashem, lower them to the lowest level of Geinam. Anshe damim u'mirma, men of blood and trickery. Lo yechetzu yameim, they don't reach half their days. Va'ani eftach bach, and I will put my faith in you. So that's the Mishnah. There are a lot of things to discuss in this Mishnah, a lot. So let's start with the most basic part. That is the idea that we've noticed that there are three qualities that make up somebody who's a student of Avraham Avinu. And the first one is the person that has an ayin tova, which means a good eye, a favorable eye, a generous person, somebody who is willing to give like Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu was the ultimate giver. He was somebody that really couldn't stop giving. That's all he wanted to do. He wanted to bring Hashem's name into the world. And all he would do is give and give and give to more and more and more people so that they should recognize that Kadosh Baruch Hu wins the war against the war between 4 kings against the 5 kings. Lot was his nephew who was in the city of kings, and they were all taken captive. And 5 nations lost to 4 big nations. And Avraham Avinu went and single-handedly, together with his servant Eliezer, they went and they waged war against those 4 big nations. Miraculously, they were able to win and conquer those nations. And they took everything and everybody back. They were able to save everybody, including his nephew Lot. Now, the king of Sodom, who was saved because of Abraham, was a very wicked and evil man. But he said to and you take spoils. Now, that statement in itself is a very telling statement, because if you were just taken captive and you lost everything, and I saved you, so I decide what I do. I don't let you tell me what to do. I could take whatever I want, the people I want, and everything I want, because I just won the war back. So I decide. But no, the king of Sodom was extremely cheap, stingy, and the best offer he could come up with was, you take the spoils of war and I keep the people. Okay? Abraham, on the other hand, could care less about the people and the spoils of war. And he said to him, listen, I'm not taking a string from you. I'm not taking a shoelace from you. Take it all. I don't want you to say that I made Abraham rich. Take everything. He wasn't looking for people's money. He wasn't greedy. He wasn't interested in these things. He was interested in making Hashem known to the world. He was the ultimate giver. He made, of course, the Eshel Avraham. Eshel means he established a place that anybody who wants to eat something, who wants to drink something, and he wants to be escorted on the way out. That's achila, shtia, levaya, drinking and being escorted on the way out. People, that was his attribute, chesed. 3 random people show up to his house. He has no idea who they are. He just performed a Brit Milah on himself. He was somebody that was in pain at that moment. But he's looking to bring people to his home. He's looking to do kindness. He look for them. He then, when he sees them, he serves them. And not only does he serve them, but it says, Vayikach ben bakar, rach vatov. Chazal say, he fed them 3 tongues. Right? Tongue, is something still people eat till this day. And he not only gave 1 tongue for everybody, but he slaughtered 3 cows, and he took the tongue of each one of them to give to each guest. Vayikach ben bakar, say Chazal, is 1. Ben bakar means 1 cow. Rach, soft, means there was another soft cow. Batov, and good, that means there was a 3rd cow. So 3 separate cows he slaughtered for the 3 guests. Can you imagine somebody just had a Brit Milah and he's not a young man? He's very old. And still he's doing above and beyond in order to. Then what does he do? Yes, sorry. How did he learn how to be a butcher? That's a good question. It could be that he was that he had picked it up along the way. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you. I'm sure they had to. It was probably a much more common skill back then. Yeah.
He also did the Brit Milah.
He also did the Brit Milah. Yeah. You had to know how to work these things a little bit. Nowadays we're very spoiled. He then goes ahead and he takes whatever it is that he does have, and he gives 10% of it to Melchizedek Melech Shalem as Maaser, as thank you to Hashem for the fact that he conquered these 4 great nations. He is the giver. All he wants to do is give, 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 give. That's what he does. That's Avraham. And unconditionally, by the way. A lot of times we give and we expect, I do for you, you do for me, Unconditional. I don't care if you do for me, you don't do for me, it doesn't make a difference to me. I'm giving. Tova. Ayin Tova means good eye. We learned in Pirkei Avot previously that it says that there are three things that can take a person out of this world. It says, Hakinah, V'Tava, V'Kavod, which means that jealousy and lust and desire and kavod, running after honor, can ruin a person's life. So over here we see, says Maran Achida, take from what I have and give to you. That's being a Talmid of Avraham Avinu. The Mishnah tells us, Ruach Nemucha, a low spirit. What does it mean, a low spirit? It means he's extremely humble. Extremely humble. Somebody with his accomplishments would be flaunting them. He would be telling the whole world what he has, what he does. Nowadays, every Tom, Dick, and Harry who's got a little, something, either a few coins jingling in his pocket, maybe a few, a couple of titles here and there that he has. Everybody wants acknowledgement. Everybody wants to be known. I am so-and-so, and I'm this, and I'm that. Everybody see me, and look at me and my stats. And he had it all. He had everything. The kings were making, right? Okay, eventually he had that too. And what did he say? V'anochi afar va'efer. He says, I am afar, which means dirt, va'efer. I'm ashes. I'm nothing. Avraham Avinu was the one who was able to say, doesn't make a difference what I have. Everything comes from Shamayim. Everything comes from Hashem. Who am I? I'm zero. Half of what he has is going around saying I'm this, I'm that. No, doesn't make a difference. Everything's from Hashem anyway. So, Anochi, Afar Va'efer. I am dirt, I'm ashes. That was who our forefather Avraham Avinu was. And number 3, Avraham Avinu was Nefesh Shfala, which means he had absolutely no desire for worldly, mundane pleasures. Now, this is the level that is very hard to reach. Avraham Avinu reached a certain level that I would say is superhuman in this area, because pleasures. Everyone desires, naturally. There's beautiful food on the table right now. It looks good. It's appetizing. Naturally, you want it. You have a pull toward it. You have an urge for it. It's very natural. A male, is attracted to a certain female. It's a natural feeling that he has for that female. It's something natural. And you would say to yourself, okay, so we're told that we have to control ourselves. We have to be on top of ourselves. We can't just let ourselves go. We have to do things in the right way. Fine, okay. So we have to make sure that we eat only kosher food and the person has to get married, etc. Okay, good. But once he's doing that, you'd say to yourself, okay, good. So now let him enjoy. Avraham Avinu displayed superhuman abilities. I mean, it's unbelievable. His wife was known as the most beautiful woman. As we know, they come to Egypt. He had to literally hide her in a box. And they take her out of the box, and the first thing they say, she's a queen. She has to go to Paro. They take her. Same thing happened again with the Plishtim, with Avimelech. The first thing they do is they say, she has to go to the king. This is not for any of us. She's a queen. So look who he's married to, and look what happens. It says they're walking on the way down, leaving Israel towards Egypt. And they pass by a little reflection in the water that they see. And all of a sudden, Avraham Avinu sees Sarah's reflection. And he says, Hine nayadati ki isha yefat mar'eat. Says Rashi, what do you mean, Avraham? Says Rashi, they were so tzanua, even between themselves, they were so modest that Avraham Avinu wouldn't even look at her, at his own wife, because he wanted to be modest. Again, I'm not telling you that this is something that's ordinary, but this is the father of the Jewish people. Even his own wife, who you'd think you're permitted to be with her, you're permitted to enjoy her, you're permitted to have a normal relationship with your wife. Ashrecha, you're very lucky, very fortunate man. No, he's not even interested in looking at her. It's extraordinary. So that's called nefesh shfala. Nefesh shfala means that he's completely rejecting any kind of pursuit of physicality. His relationship with his wife was one of purely for the sake of heaven. Now, again, I'm not trying to tell you that this is for our generation, but at the same time, it's important to be aware that what this means is that at the very least, as far as we're concerned, we should not be rushing after worldly pleasures. That should be a main thing for us. I mean, I'll just give you an example. Sometimes I see these articles in these magazines, again, religious, Jewish, wonderful magazines, but it's like, these people are writing about their dining experience at this restaurant and what he ordered and what his wife ordered. And they're telling you about how this has hints of that and this and that. I mean, there's a limit to how much you can put your efforts into enjoying your dinner. You know what I'm saying? But no, we're making a big deal out of it, and it's a whole to-do. We have to enjoy, we have to go get this and go get that and do this and do that. We have to go eat here, eat there. It's okay, again, I'm not trying to put anybody down, guys. I'm just trying to say, we're learning now that there's an idea to not run after worldly pleasure. Send me pictures of their dinner. At a restaurant, they send me a picture of their plate. I said, you think I can eat the phone? I'm saying, what exactly am I supposed to, like, what? It's like, send me a picture of the $100 bill. What am I going to do with this picture? No. And it's different chats, and they are flaunting that we are right now at this restaurant, and look at the food I'm about to eat. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, guys, relax. It's just food. It's just, again, that's the idea. Nefesh shfala, that Avraham Avinu completely rejected worldly pleasures. And that was something that when somebody on his own level, to each person on his own level, when somebody says, you know what, maybe I'm not going to run after that right now. Maybe I could spend the time instead of looking up, say Tehillim instead for 5 minutes instead. You become a student of Avraham Avinu, which is a very important thing to understand. Okay, so that's in terms of Avraham. Now, let's talk about the flip side, because the Mishnah doesn't just say, be a Talmid of Avraham. The Mishnah wants to teach us how not to be a student of Bilam. Again, who is Bilam? Bilam was the very wicked man that was a sorcerer that was hired time after time as a mercenary. When nations could not conquer other nations, Bilam was available for hire. You could hire him, you pay him a lot of money. He comes to your home, or not to your home, he comes to your wherever it is that you need him to be, the front lines, and he curses the other nations, says that he knew the exact moment of the day where Hashem is very angry. There's a split second, literally a split second of the day where HaKadosh Baruch Hu's anger takes control over the world. And he knew exactly that moment where he was able to say a curse against the strength of Hashem's anger. Boom, the other nation would get knocked out on the spot. Many nations tried it with him and were successful. There was a man by the name of Balak who was afraid that the Jewish people that left Egypt in a very bad state would do the same thing to him as they're passing his country. And therefore Balak, in order to make sure that didn't happen to his country, which was Moab, Balak hired Bilam to come and curse the Jewish people. Now, we learn a lot about Bilam in that story. Bilam Rasha was an extremely, extremely wicked man. But this Mishnah points out a couple of things that we have to make sure that we do not allow ourselves ever to develop. The first thing that the Mishnah points out is that he had character flaw number one, ayin ra'ah. Ayin ra'ah means he was an extremely jealous person. He wanted everything. He desired everything. We're going to talk about that in depth even more. But what that means in a practical sense, explains Rashi. It says in the pasuk, "Vayisa Bilam et enav, vayaret Yisrael shochen lishvatav." So Bilam lifted up his eyes and he saw the Jewish people in their encampment. By the way, this is another really important lesson that I want to just share with you very briefly. The entire story of Bilam was completely a story that the Jewish people had no idea about. We were oblivious. We had no clue that this was going on. Like it says in the pasuk, we're just encamped in a certain place. Jewish people have absolutely no idea that they're almost this close from complete annihilation. They have no idea. It's the most amazing thing. We have absolutely no clue that this is going on. Vayafoch Hashem Elokecha et haklala livracha, goes up to curse the Jewish people. He changes Hashem, your God, loves you. This is just an important lesson for us to understand. HaKadosh Baruch Hu protects us all, and we have absolutely no idea. One more point about that. We say in our Hashem, you do miracles for us every day. You perform wonders and you kindnesses for us. Evening, morning, afternoon, 3 times a day. We have miracles happening for us. We have no idea. We're completely unaware. God knows what kind of diseases are passing by us, Hashem Mishmor. God knows what kind of people could have come in our way that for some reason decided not to. All kinds of things that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is deflecting from us. We have no idea. Completely unaware. That's an important lesson that we learn from Bilam, which we should always remember to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for all the kindnesses that he does for us that we don't even have a clue are going on. That's important as well. So be the power to bring the attribute of judgment. I'll just briefly explain what this means. Ayin hara means the following in a nutshell. When somebody desires somebody else's item, let's say, for example, someone has a Ferrari, okay? And I really want a Ferrari. I happen to not because it looks really small. I don't think I'd fit. But at the same time, somebody has a Ferrari and I want that Ferrari. Okay, good. So I say, Hashem, I look at this Ferrari. I'm jealous. I want it. I want it for me. Why does he get to have it and I don't get to have it? So what I'm doing right now, by me looking with my jealousy at his Ferrari. So Hashem is my father, Hashem is his father. And just like when one child comes and asks for something and the father gives it to him, and the father didn't realize that moment that, oh, the other son is going to come over and ask for the same thing, because that's just what kids do. And then if you say no, he's, well, that's not fair. How come he gets and I don't get? So then, you know what? You have a point. If that kid doesn't deserve it more than you, I might just have to take it away. So the person is exacting upon that individual who owns the Ferrari the attribute of judgment. Now the problem is like this. All of us require, in order for us to survive, the combination of the attribute of judgment and the attribute of mercy. If the attribute of mercy is removed from any one of us at any given moment, we're done on the spot. Because when a person makes a mistake, it's off with his head. There's no two ways about it. And we're all in front of the king 24/7. So to make a mistake, there's no room for mistake. It's finished. The only reason we can survive is we have the attribute of mercy protecting us. But when you ask Hashem, why did you give him and not me? You're not actually asking Hashem this question, but you're just jealous of that guy. So what you're doing is you're arousing the attribute of judgment. Pure judgment, not infused with mercy on that person, and he's not going to survive. That Ferrari's not going to survive now. Why is it not going to survive? Because he doesn't stand the judgment. Is a very severe one. That's what Bil'am Rasha is doing, and he's looking at the Jewish people and he's trying to instill the Ayin Hara. That's what it says, that Vayisa Bil'am et einav, he raised his eyes and he started to gaze at the Jewish people in order to bring that lion in one eye. The Zohar says that's the indication he's using the power of Ayin Hara against the Jewish people. Very scary. And he was very successful most of the time. Now, attribute number 2, Ruach Gvoha. He was looking for honor, looking for a lot of kavod. It says that Balak sends ministers to go into Moab in order to curse the Jewish people. And what happens is with you. Now, what happened was Hashem really said, don't go with them. You're not allowed to. But he looks at this. Look at how he looks at everything. You know why Hashem says I can't go with you? Because it's you. You guys aren't high level enough ministers for me. You can't send me the, you can't send me the secretary of, I don't know, transportation, I need vice president, you want me to come? At least the vice president. You have to send high-level officials for me. I'm Bilas, right? So that's his idea. You need to send me the top people or else I can't come. That's how he interprets the message. This is someone who is important enough. I'm not coming. I am Mr. Honor. That's a big problem. Somebody that has that, he's living a life that is, Masechet Eruvin tells us, somebody who chases after honor, the honor runs away from him. Somebody who's not looking for it, the honor catches up for him, with him. Eventually he gets it. That's how it works. Now, number 3, the Mishnah tells us that Bil'am had a nefesh rechava, which means he desired a lot, extremely lustful, extremely. For example, it says that Hashem again told him, he asked Hashem, please just let me go with them. And he, so to say, had an argument. Eventually he went. And he had to come up with some kind of an explanation. And he explained, listen, Hashem isn't letting me give them the curses. What can I do? And he makes the following comments. Im yiten li Balak melo beito kesef vezahav lo uchal la'avo et pi Hashem Elokai. A house full of silver and gold, still it doesn't allow me to transgress the word of Hashem. Hashem doesn't want me to curse them. There's nothing I can do. But the point is that he says those words. If Balak will give me his entire house of gold and silver, I can't transgress the word of Hashem. Why are you saying that? If Balak will give me his entire house. Says Rashi, be giving me every last penny that you have. All of it should come to me. Why? Because I am about to curse out this nation and wipe them out. Everything away from Balak. He desired everything, deserved it. Now, even worse, besides for his lust for money, the Torah tells us that all of a sudden he had a very interesting situation with his donkey. You guys remember the story with the donkey? Right? That he was riding his donkey. All of a sudden the donkey throws itself to the wall because it sees that there's an angel, there's an angel standing in the way, not letting him pass. And the donkey is afraid of it, so it goes to the side. And he doesn't see the angel. It happens not once, twice, 3 times, and then he gets so mad he starts to beat the donkey. And it was a female donkey. And the angel got very upset and said to him, "What are you doing? How come you're doing this to your animal?" And the donkey opens up to me. All of a sudden, the donkey is speaking. I'm the donkey that you have you've been riding from the time that you were young until this very moment. Say, Chazal, what does it mean? I'm the donkey that you have been riding. Explain, Chazal. Bil'am, the wicked, was such a lustful person. He even had relations with his own female donkey. That's who we're talking about. Super lustful, super desiring anything. The Ramban has a explanation. How could you ever see somebody doing something like that? I mean, we understand, lust for females, for even, an animal. How does that happen? Right? Ramban says sometimes the person is so involved with normal quote-unquote lust that he gets bored. So he needs a new thrill. So he goes after something. That's what we're talking about. After these lusts and running after these desires, we have to be very careful, because that's called being a student of Bil'am Harasha, which is a very big problem. Now,
can I ask a question?
Sure.
Like, one thing is, if someone gets upset why that person has this and they don't, and they ask Hashem why they have that and they don't, so they're causing that person to get something taken away, but that also happens to them too, because
Correct.
Hashem does everything measure for measure.
They're now susceptible to it. If somebody were to look at them in the same way, they would be susceptible to the same pure judgment. That's why it says, that's why it says if a person wants to be protected from Ayin Hara, the way to protect yourself from Ayin Hara is to not be jealous of other people. That's why it says that Yosef was protected from Ayin Hara. That's what I always say. Ben Porat Yosef. What does it mean, Ben Porat Yosef? Hashem should protect you from Ayin Hara, just like Yosef was protected from Ayin Hara. Why? Because Yosef had the opportunity to gaze at the wife of Potiphar and to enjoy her beauty, and she was very beautiful, and she changed every day. Anybody else's eye that desires what belongs to him. So therefore, a person, says the Gemara, who possesses that character trait is protected from Ayin Hara always. As long as you're happy with what you have and you don't look at what other people have and don't desire what they have, then you are protected always and forever from Ayin Hara. You're like Yosef Tzaddik. It's a very important point to realize. If people desire what they have and they are that kind of person that also desires what others have, then they're susceptible to that kind of thing. Not necessarily, but they're susceptible to it. Now, I want to just finish off this Mishnah and then share with you some more about Bilam, which I think is really, really amazing. And I think you'll find it unbelievable too. But let's finish the Mishnah first. Says that for the tzaddikim, there are, at the end, after 120 years, 310 worlds that Hashem creates for them, which is amazing. But for the people of Bilam Rasha, that they follow his ways, something else I think is a true statement. Avraham Avinu gets both worlds. He gets number one, this world. That's what it says. We said it over here before. It says that the students of Avraham Avinu, ochlin ba'olam hazeh, they eat in this world, meaning they benefit in this world, and they get the world to come. Now, I would think naturally, at least you could say that Bilam and his people, they also get this world. I mean, they get this world much more than, the average Jewish guy who's very, they're going out, they're partying, they're lustful, they're whatever they feel like, donkeys, Hashem Yishmor, right? And they're doing everything, right? At least you would say, this world they have, right? Doesn't say that. It doesn't say they have this world. I think the reason it doesn't say they have this world is because they don't have this world, unfortunately. The Torah Kedusha is a guide to how to enjoy this world. If you have the Torah and you live a life of Torah, then not only do you get the world to come, you also get this world. If a person follows the Torah Kedusha and he leads a life based on Torah, there's nobody happier than that. There's no one happier than this. For the other person who lives a life of Bilam Rasha, he's not happy. He looks like he's happy, but he's not happy. He's miserable. He's lonely. He's a degenerate. He degraded into some kind of thing that looks like a human being. He's not a human being. He's a nothing. That's why the Mishnah doesn't say that they have this world, but they don't have the next world. They don't have this world. They've got nothing. I think it's a true inference from this Mishnah. And all they get is Geinam for not listening to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It says, Anshei damim u'mirma lo yechetzu yemehem. Men of blood and trickery do not live out half their days. Bilam, says the Gemara, died at 33. It's an interesting thing. It says that they asked one of the rabbis of the Gemara, how old do you think Bilam was? He said it must have been 33. So he said, how do you know? He says, because it says that men of trickery and blood, they don't make it out to half their days, and the average back then was 66, something like that. So he must have been 33, 34 at most. And facts over there saying that Bilam died at 33. This he called a man of trickery and a man of blood. The bottom line was with Bilam, he wasn't satisfied that his curses didn't turn into, that his curses didn't work. He gave them advice how to get the Jews to die. And what he did was, he told Balak, listen, get ladies to go out near the Jewish encampment and open up stores for sale. Things for sale. And obviously make it very attractive. Everything half off, 50% off, right? Jewish people, we see a sale, we have sale, very good, and make the booths very, men are going to these booths, they want to see one, and they tell them, listen, really they started to seduce these men so fast, you're interested? They said, okay, so what we want you to do is we want you to serve this idol, the Baal Peor. Serve the idol, Baal, what is this? You have to go number 2 on it. Okay, so they went and they did their thing, and that's how they had their relations with these women. Hashem Yishmor. They ended up worshiping the Baal Peor. Because of that, there was a plague in Am Yisrael. 24,000 men died. So Bilam wasn't able to curse them, but he was able to trick them, and he was able to cause them to die. So he was a man of trickery. He was a man of blood. And that's how he got that title of a man of trickery and of blood, who ended up being killed at age 33. This is Bilam Rasha. Now, let's go a little deeper. The Ari Kadosh teaches us that Bilam, again, who we've learned is a very stingy, lustful, tricky person. Bilam actually was a Gilgul, explains the Ari Kadosh, which means he was a reincarnation of Lavan. Lavan Harami. We all know who Lavan was? Lavan was the father of Rachel and Leah, and he was the one who had tricked Yaakov into marrying Leah instead of Rachel. He wanted to marry Rachel, but instead it was Leah. And he's the one who tried to take away, and he changed Yaakov's salary when he was working for him for 20 years, 100 times, always to the disadvantage of Yaakov. Yaakov never lied to him. And Lavan had this kind of opportunity again to fix himself. And he came back in the form of Bilam, a very interesting ghoul. And Bilam messed up royally. Now, Hashem gives another opportunity. Many generations later, we all know that King David HaMelech was in hiding because Shaul, the king who was dethroned by Hashem after failing to follow the orders of Hashem to wipe out all of the nation of Amalek, he left King Agag alive, and he left the sheep alive, and Shaul lost the kingship, and David HaMelech was made king. Because of that, King Shaul was very, very nervous and was very afraid of King David, and he tried to kill him many times. So David was in hiding. So it says that David HaMelech, because he was hiding, he needed help from different people. People were afraid of King Shaul. They didn't want to do anything. So David HaMelech was in hiding, and he sought assistance from a man by the name of Naval. Naval was the husband of and Naval was approached by one of David's aides secretly, and David told his aide, bless him, and tell him that just like he has such blessing right now, he's got sheep and he's got a beautiful home and he's got so many wonderful things. Tell him that it should be like that by him forever. Everything by you should be in peace. Your house should be in peace. Everything should be good by you. And he said, just please, we need a little help. Can you give us some bread to sustain our group of people? We're in hiding right now. We need help. Naval said, no way, not interested, not going to happen. And he gave them nothing. And because of that, they almost explains the Ari Kadosh was also a Gilgul of Lavan, Bilam, now became Naval. He had another opportunity. Now's your chance to be like an Avraham Avinu. Now you can be a giver. There's somebody in need. David HaMelech is in need. Here's your chance. Give him some bread, nothing more. He's not asking you for anything. Give him some food. Nothing. Cheap. Always for himself. Always, what can I do? What can I get for myself? Always me. Same problem. Says the Ari Kadosh, doesn't end there. Many years later, in the time of the Talmud, there was a big rabbi, and his name was Plimo. Plimo was a huge tzaddik, huge. And Plimo was so proud of how he always fought against his evil inclination in Yetzer Hara, that he would stand up every day and he would say, Le Satan gira be'enecha, right? Gira be'ena de sitna. Arrows shot in the eyes of the Satan, meaning he was so proud of how he was always against the Yetzer Hara, that he would tell the Satan, I'm shooting arrows at you. You can't touch me. And he was very proud of that. Now, it was one Erev Yom Kippur. It was the eve of Yom Kippur. Plimo gets a knock on his door. And it's a man. And it's a man that is a poor, destitute man. No food, nothing. And he's full of boils. He's disgusting. You know, imagine somebody like that, like a real homeless guy, coming, knocking on your door, you know, like smells bad, looks bad, boils everywhere, starving. Can I have some food? Yes. On Erev Yom Kippur, Plimo, big tzaddik, brings him in, brings him to the table, and this guy starts to behave in the grossest possible way. You can imagine all kinds of etiquette that we have. No, this guy is stable. And because of that amount, all of a sudden, the guy drops dead. The guy dropped dead. He's dead. Now, Plimo was kind of startled by it. And all of a sudden, there's a voice, there's screaming outside, Plimo killed somebody. Plimo killed. He was so scared, and he ran like to the edge of the neighborhood, to like one of the outhouses where they would, you know, the bathroom over there, and he was just hiding there. It's Erev Yom Kippur. And he was terrified. And all of a sudden, someone approaches him, and it was the Satan himself. And he says to him, listen, I'm the Satan. He says, that gentleman that just died in your house, that's me. And it was a test to see if you would kick me out of your house or you wouldn't kick me out of your house, or you'd accept me as I am. He says, I don't mind. He says, if you beat me, but don't say I'm shooting arrows at you. He was upset that he was telling him, I'm shooting arrows at you. Don't do that anymore. He agreed. Says the Chida, amazing. How do you say Plimo killed somebody? Plimo katal gavra. That's how you say it in Aramaic. So he says, if you do the gematria of Plimo katal gavra, you get the gematria 183. Pei Kuf Gimel. The Plimo Katal Gavra is 183. If you do the gematria of Yaakov, it's 182. It's the same thing with the Kolel. You could be off by one. It says Marana Chida, this was the tikkun for Lavan, because Plimo's neshama was the neshama of Naval, and for all the pain, that's why Plimo had to run and hide in the bathhouse in the end of the neighborhood over there on Erev Yom Kippur and go through what he went through. Because this was the final tikkun that he was supposed to do to fix his neshama. So I think it's important to point out that you see from this story, you see there's so much more than what we see. There's so much more beyond what we're able to be aware of. And many times we find ourselves asking questions like, you know, why does this happen? Why did this person have to go through this and they have to go through that? And here's a tzaddik, is a righteous man who's conquering his Yetzer Hara every single day. And all of a sudden, people are saying in the streets that he killed somebody. He just wanted to help this guy out, and he didn't kick him out of his house. And all of a sudden, he has to run and hide. Why does he have to go through these things? Little does he know that the neshama that's inside of his body is a gilgul of Naval, a gilgul of Bilam, a gilgul of Lavan. And he right now, by going through what he's going through, is fixing everything for them. He has no idea that that's what's going on. There's a lot of things happening that we're completely greater than us. So that's, I think, a source of a lot of I don't understand what's happening. I might not get why we have to, Dosh Baruch Hu is in charge and is fully aware this is what we have to go through. We don't know why. But that's our faith. That's where faith comes in. It's important for us to remember that. That's also Avraham Avinu, the master of faith. The master of all these things that we see around us, these idols that they had back then, all the things, the random stuff that people believe in, which is all nonsense, that's all ridiculous. Just have faith in Hashem, because that's really where it's all coming from. Okay, I think we could stop over here unless we have any questions.
How do we know who's coming from, who's people?
This is, you have to be the Ariya Kadosh, the Yitzchak Luria.
No, I'm not saying
He was such a holy man that even when he would go to sleep, they would reveal to him secrets of, endless amounts of secrets min hashamayim. One time he fell asleep for a few minutes and his students saw that he was mumbling some word. Could the Rav tell us what he learned just now? And he said, even if I had another 80 years on this world, I wouldn't be able to teach it to you. And what I had a 5-minute man was. So when he teaches us things like that this was who it was, this was the Gilgul, etc., it's a serious thing. So we don't know. We don't understand these things, but it's important to be aware that it's there. Yeah.
Why did Baba deserve to be able to have keep him and even Bilam?
He didn't deserve it.
Pure chance.
He didn't deserve it. None of us deserve it. Gilgul is an amazing thing. I was looking into this from my Chumash class tonight, but I'll share with you too. Gilgul is Gimel Lamed, Gimel Vav Lamed is 30, so that's 33. Another Gimel is another 3, so that's 36. Plus Vav is another 6, so that's 42. Plus Lamed is 30, so that's 72. Okay. So if you take the Gematria Gilgul, 72, it's the same exact gematria as Samech is 60, 68 plus 4 is 72. So the opportunity to be able to try again and to fix what we messed up, none of us deserve it. It's pure kindness from Hashem. So Hashem wanted to give him a second chance. I don't know why, but Hashem chose to give a second chance. Interestingly enough, shamot of females don't come back as Gilgul as often as males do. Interesting. It says in the parasha, Kol Zachar legulgelotam, which means that it's more of a, I guess the answer is very simple, because they fix themselves much faster than men do. They take care of it by far quicker than men. Okay, so it's a chesed, that's the idea. Yeah.
Because the neshama of a woman always comes back as a woman and male as a male. Or the neshama changes genders.
It's a good question. I don't know the answer. I mean, from what I understand, it is possible that there could be a switch. They do say that by Yitzchak Avinu, that was what had happened initially, that he had neshama of a female. That's why he was unable to have children in the beginning, and at the Akedah, his neshama left and he got a neshama of a male. There is such a thing. I don't know how often that happens. I don't know. I don't know. That's why, by the way, you'll always, baby boy, we say banim zecharim, right? You know what that means? It means male boys. Now the question is, if he's a boy, then he's a male. What's the question? Banim, you say banim, you should have boys. Or you should have Zacharim, males. So he has to say male boys. The answer is because of that. You should want him to be a Ben Zachar, which means you should have the neshama of a male as well. Interesting. There is such a thing. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for hosting us, Mrs. Bakshi.